Morning, everybody. It is 8 o'clock on the dot on a Thursday morning. It is September the 28th. I'm WESH 2 First Warning meteorologist Eric Burris. This is Coffee Talk, where we get together 7 days a week, chat about what's going on in the world of weather. It is comfortable outside. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to come out and sit and talk about the weather from my backyard. And then I was also like, yeah, it's also like a little foggy out too. So there's a couple of things, interestingly enough, to chat about. But it's not foggy in our tower cam location over at the beach. Take a look at this kind of wicked shot. This is Ponce Inlet, New Smyrna Beach area. We're looking up toward some thunderstorms that are off in the distance. Kind of an interesting shot there. Let's get right over to our first warning Doppler radar. And you can kind of see we've got a little bit of rain in North Volusia County. Not really moving all that much toward like Daytona Beach, New Smyrna Beach, but more like DeLand, DeLeon Springs, Pearson, Barberville, Astor, kind of up that direction. And then further to the south, we've got some shower activity here around Brevard County. Most of it's off the shoreline, but we're tracking a few little showers. Let's zoom in here right around Merritt Island there, out near Cocoa Beach. You kind of see it moving through near Vieira. And then further to the south, a few additional showers here around Melbourne Beach, West Melbourne, all south of 192, so a little bit of light rainfall. Not as much rain as we saw yesterday, but still some shower activity around. Yeah. 75 in Orlando. Forgive me, the lighting isn't good, but look, you're not here because I'm so sexy. You're here because we're doing weather stuff. So as long as you're okay with me in bad lighting, then we're okay. 73 degrees in Ocala today, 75 in Palm Coast. Lots of moisture still over top of us. No surprise here as to the overall weather pattern, right? All that moisture is going to continue to work into the area. So what do we look like today? Well, it's going to be another morning with a few showers around. And then this afternoon, widely scattered showers and thunder showers. It's going to be another stormy afternoon. 87 our high temperature, 60 or so % coverage of rain. Do want to point out though, visibility numbers locally lowered, like you can see 2.5 miles there in Ocala. New Smyrna Beach is at a 1/4 mile. Daytona Beach is at 7 miles. And you know, I can just tell you at my house, like, it's not pea soup, but you can definitely tell behind me that the visibilities have dropped off just a little bit. So there's that. All right, so this morning, not too bad, but we do have those thunderstorms to contend with today. Weather forecast isn't that bad the first part of the day. Let's take a look at Futurecast, and I would add that Futurecast has done a terrible job, as is all the models. They've known that we were going to get some heavy rainfall, and as a matter of fact, today, once again, we're under that level 1 out of 4 threat for flooding. We're watching for the potential of some flooding rains. We have seen a bunch of rainfall. As a matter of fact, let me swap over to our first warning live Doppler radar, and I'm going to change it around to our rainfall detector. Now, this is the 24-hour rainfall detector. But look at some of these areas in Volusia County. Deltona, let me pick on you for just a moment, okay? If I zoom in, you can kind of see there's yellows into oranges. When I click on that, that's the Doppler radar showing over 4 inches of rain. All right, so there's some areas that have seen some significant rains just on the south side of downtown Orlando around Disney and Oak Ridge, Hunters Creek area. I mean, look at some of these numbers. 5 inches down near Four Corners in Disney, just south of downtown, 3.5. So we've had some pretty good rains. Yeah, that's why not only are we watching for the potential of flooding today, but these next couple of days, tomorrow, Saturday, Sunday, our area is going to at least have a low-end threat for some flooding rainfall. So it's better than a big old honking severe weather threat, that I could tell you. But the models are struggling because we're transitioning from summer into fall, and that's always a really difficult transition for computer models because there's certain seasonal norms that they just kind of get used to, and without that, they struggle, right? So let's take a look at, and I'm just kind of previewing Futurecast. It's not doing a great job again. This is the high resolution refresh Futurecast, And I think that it's probably doing the best job. So here's a look at that flavor of futurecast, showing some rains this morning up north, kind of recycling, and then by 2, 3 o'clock, starting to see storms spreading through town into the metro through 7, 7:30, 8 o'clock, and then kind of tapering off afterward. But the peak performance for the metro is going to be 4, 5, 6 o'clock. But again, I would just urge caution because the modeling has been far from great, has been basically anything from great these last couple of days, all right? So some heavy rainfall, that sort of thing. Another thing to point out is that we are kind of starting to watch some river flooding because of all of this rainfall. For example, this is the St. Johns River at Astor. Current level, 2.12 feet. So we're now into the action stage there. The water level is continuing to slowly rise. At 2.3, we start to see camp docks flooded, 3 feet, low-lying areas and yards, and then, of course, at 4 feet, we get to major flood stage. So we're at 2.12. So that would tell you we're at action stage, right? And it's not just here, but we start to look at some of our other river gauges through the St. Johns, and we're kind of starting to see the same thing. Action up north for sure, okay? So there's kind of the look. And in terms of river gauges, those are the two up around Putnam County, and then the Astor gauge that are at action stage. No one is at minor, moderate, or major, but it's just a good reminder that feast or famine, right? Because what's interesting is while the St. Johns is starting to flood because of all the water that we've seen here recently, if we look at the yearly numbers, we're still in a deficit in places. Now, Orlando's definitely cut into the deficit. Sanford has significantly cut into the deficit. But like Leesburg, we're still 6 inches behind where we should be. So, thought that was kind of interesting. Yeah, all right. Forecast for us today. Weather pattern still with a storm system to our east. That's what's giving us the at least comfortable temperatures. But that trough associated with it, keeping us stormy. And not just today, but tomorrow as well. The stormy weather pattern will persist these next couple of days. So we do have a rocket launch that is set for this evening. And even SpaceX came out yesterday and posted about it. And they're like, doesn't look great. They didn't say that. I was inferring that. They basically just said that there was a 20% chance of good weather for this launch. So 7/28 is when they're targeting. Not overly excited about the forecast for this one. I'll have to see how it plays out. Hopefully it'll be okay. There it is. All right, so that's kind of a look at the overall setup for us today, the next couple of days. And I would add that at least in terms of the rainfall coverage, that today is going to be a nice and stormy coverage. And as a matter of fact, these next couple of days are going to keep a pretty nice and stormy coverage. 60% today, 60% tomorrow and Saturday. Then Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, we kind of start to dry out a little bit as a little ribbon of drier air moves into town. That's going to help us out. But until it does, we're going to be pretty stormy. All right? So far, so good. Any questions? Jeannie says, yeah, that's not happening. I know. Yeah, that rocket isn't going anywhere. Cindy says, I mean, I hope it does. Listen, I've covered enough rocket launches from SpaceX that I know they are really good at threading the needle. If it's possible, they do it. If it's not possible, they don't. Yukon says mid-80s are better than the 90s. I spy with my little eye only 80s for highs. That's not too bad. Jody says we need the rain. Bring it. Temps look better anyway. Oh, for sure. I think I'm going to mow the yard today. I think we're going to be doing good. Yeah. They need to get the rocket up before the government shutdown on Sunday. So I don't know the logistics. I know that our Brevard bureau chief, Heidler, Scott Heidler, did a report on it. But if I'm 100% honest with y'all, I wasn't paying attention. I was working on weather graphics and stuff. So I didn't see what the space programs look like in a government shutdown. Oliver says it's all about the bottom line at SpaceX. No launch, no money. I mean, they're trying to expand their Starlink satellite constellation. So yeah, the more satellites they get up there, the better the internet speeds will be, right? Colleen says, I guess the 80s are good news. I could do without the rain this weekend. Still mid 90s in southeast Texas. Yeah. Yeah. My concern, of course, for rain is going to be outdoor activities this weekend. For example, there's a little football game. It's only the Big 12 debut over at the Bounce House. Saturday's forecast does include plenty of showers and thunder showers. Now, I was meeting with the operations director yesterday. I was on campus, met with him, and we're just kind of trading some trade secrets. I'm hooking him up with access to our live first warning Doppler radar so that he can get access. I'll show you. I even made a couple of different views. So anyway, you can see showers and storms around for the forecast. I'm still going. Don't think you're getting out of a football game. It's going to be a great football game. But I'm hooking him up with a couple of different things. Like, for example, I made this radar sector. Obviously, there's nothing around UCF, but I made this radar sector to kind of show a wide shot around UCF. I made this radar sector with kind of a closer shot. And he kind of shared what the NCAA and what the Big 12 talk about in terms of lightning criteria and things like that. So I will be tweeting a lot if there is any concerning weather for the game. I'm hoping there's not. Between you, me, from my mouth to God's ears, let's keep the storms outside of the forecast. Although I, as a meteorologist, I know that's just the way that it is. I also love sidebar, like the first Big 12 home game, and I'm not going to talk too much about football because I know not all of y'all are big nerds about college sports, and I get it. But to me, Baylor's always going to have a special place in the heart of UCF fans because to me, it was that Fiesta Bowl win so many years ago over Baylor that I feel like put UCF on the national map. So it's kind of wonderful to have Baylor coming to town, and they've been a class act, at least the university. They put billboards up welcoming UCF to the Big 12. Just so much fun. So much fun. So I'm excited about this football game. I'll be tweeting and updating, and I got my pass. So if you're going to the game, I will be doing the forecast on the Jumbotron pregame, and I'm very, very, very excited to be doing that. So anyway, hopefully we'll have good forecast for it, but it is what it is. Going to space is great and all. I believe we've got enough junk there floating around. I mean, how many satellites do we really need in space? Warren, I don't disagree with you at all. I'm personally wondering, I mean, I know that like SpaceX has ways to deorbit these things, but like there's only so much space up there. So I do wonder how that's going to play out. I think that if I had $1 billion, I'd be running a company to just kind of pick up space debris, like waste management, #space edition. But that's, you know, I don't have that kind of money. I'm still very much cringing every time I make a payment on the anything. Yeah. Can we look at Futurecast for tomorrow evening? Nikki's asking, trying to decide if I need to move loading the U-Haul for pumpkin patch setup Saturday morning instead of tomorrow night. Yeah, we can take a look, but I'll tell you, the models are not doing well. So I would trust this. Take it with a grain of salt, seriously. Okay. All right, so there's Futurecast for today. We'll just play it through. All right, Friday. You know, according to Futurecast, we'll have some showers around tomorrow morning again. Kind of the same setup as today, as that trough is still over us. Interestingly enough, the models are showing an earlier start to the storms for our Friday with widespread rain. Look at 7 p.m. So without knowing your exact... Oh, you're not seeing it, are you? Can I back this up? Y'all, it's the second time in 2 days that I did that. All right, here's Futurecast for tomorrow. Couple of showers early in the morning. Right? Just after lunchtime, Futurecast is really getting the storms going. But what's the problem for you, Nikki, is look at how the heavier stuff is early, but notice Futurecast is wanting to go just widespread rains through 8 o'clock tomorrow night. So, will it be convective late? Probably not. Will it just be widespread rain? Probably. Sorry. Not ideal. But I hope that, Nikki, I hope that at least answers your question. Destiny says college football is the best. Go Gators. Space is infinite, but orbiting the atmosphere of Earth is not infinite. So, yeah. Won't there be repercussions someday if all these satellites are floating around? I know that there's like deorbit processes and things like that that the United States government puts in, but like other governments, I don't know if that's the case. You know, do other governments do that? I mean, eventually, if you don't keep lifting the orbit, then it will come back, but it's just a matter of, you know, it's just a matter of if that is the case. Sorry, Big Kid came out crying and not feeling good. I'm back now. Taylor, I'm sorry. Oh, man. Lots of layers to space. There is, Chris. Right. And as long as we track it, I suppose, that's all that matters. Yeah. Let's talk METARs and TAFs. Ooh, talk nerdy to me. I love it, Russell. Have a flight coming into MCO between 6 and 7. Futurecast aside, what's your gut saying? So, Russell, the problem is 6 and 7, we're going to have the thunderstorms around, right? The problem is once you start the snowball of delays because of weather, just like there's lots of layers to space, there's lots of layers and steps to delaying flights at Orlando International Airport. Case in point, lower SIGs right now, and there are 12 delays and 1 cancellation. Now, that's not much, but the problem is once you start getting things building more and more and more and more and more, you start really backing up the machine. And so I would just simply say you've got a pretty decent chance of a delay. There's nothing that I could tell you other than that, because it's up to the airline, it's up to the individual storms, how long is there delays, things like that. So that's a hard one. Sorry. Yeah. I guess no Disney tomorrow. Pat, I'd still go. You just go, and then when it starts to storm, watch this is, you know how everybody's like, and I always tell you about this, and it's always funny. It's like, what's really going to happen with the hurricane? When it comes to the weather, I'll tell you exactly how I play it. I don't cancel my plans. You know, like tomorrow, I've got a UCF game, so that's where I will be. If I was going to Disney, I would still go to Disney. And I would be watching the radar. And as soon as the skies start getting darker and it looks like it's going to storm, that's when we go. So that's the thing. You just go, and then when it's time to leave, you leave. Don't cancel plans. Don't go canceling plans. Patty says, big national BMX race this weekend in Daytona Beach. They race in everything but lightning. Only have national races in your home track every 2 years. If you're just, let's see here. So, Patty, I would just say go out there and hope that it all avoids you. That's all, you know. Colleen says, this is why I have the 5 a.m. flight out of Houston getting in at 8 a.m. Yeah, I would always say that it's a better idea to get early morning flights, but we can't always do it, you know? Gina, last time I flew into MCO, the only severe storm in the state lingered over MCO for several hours. Well, that's the problem. That's the problem. Yeah, Jeannie says it. Live your life, but live smart. Good advice. Thank you. That's the way I go. Is the UCF game Friday? Did I say tomorrow? No, it's a Saturday game. My God, my brain is... Hold on. It's a Saturday game. Ignore me. My brain is just not there today. My brain is just not there. Okay. All right. Any other questions about local? Otherwise, we can move on to the tropics. Carola says, I guess I'll do the same with Aquatica on Saturday. Go and see what happens. Unless you're like the problem is, you know, if you're paying a single day's admission, then it's going to be an expensive day if you have to leave. But I would just say that always try to go. Like I've annual pass to Disney, so we just go. And when the skies get dark, we know that we're gonna have to fight the kids on it. You know, that's all. Tim's asking a very good question. How's the Bay of Campeche today? Oh, warming the soul. All right, so let's talk about the tropics, my friends. We've got an interesting little bugger of a storm. Seriously, we do. All right, so let's talk about it. First off, it's Tropical Storm Philippe. The thing is looking Raggedy Ann as can be. Winds are back up to 50. I just don't think that the models know what to do with Philippe. Okay, there's the satellite imagery. It's kind of due east of the Caribbean islands. Maximum sustained winds are at 50, moving to the west-northwest at 5 miles an hour. So Philippe is there, just kind of bubbling, not really doing much. All right. In terms of its forecast from the Hurricane Center, there you go. Basically, what's going to happen, and I'll zoom in here. Basically, what's going to happen with this, it's a hodgepodge, but it's going to stay a tropical storm, kind of move generally off to the west, a little bit to the west-southwest, and then to the west-northwest. But by about Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, it weakens to a remnant low, and it just kind of hangs out here. So Philippe's not going to be a big problem. All right, we'll watch it for our friends in the Caribbean. And even, frankly, for us, because it does eventually look like that moisture will move our direction. And as I show you the computer models in a little bit, like some of the models are even hinting at like a Fujiwara effect of sorts. Then, right behind Philippe, we've got Invest 91. Hurricane Center has had this with a high likelihood of developing over the next couple of days' time for quite a while. And I'm pretty sure that we're going to see development on this puppy today. Just like yesterday morning, a 90% likelihood that it forms. All right? Winds are at 35. It just needs that little extra kick, and I think that that's probably what's happening. If we look back at the satellite imagery on it, you know, it's trying. It's just so close to Philippe that it's kind of bumbling on itself. So, yeah. Now, that said, what about the computer forecast models, right? Let's take a look at the raw models. And I do, you know, if you're new to Coffee Talk, I do this to just kind of update myself and update you as well on the kind of comings and goings. So this is the full Atlantic Basin. That purple dot there that you see right near the K of talk, that's Philippe, but watch how it goes out, and then you've got two. You see the left and the right. The left is Philippe. The right is what will be Rena, or Invest 91 right now. Kind of Fujiwara's around. All right. Now, according to the latest model data on the GFS, what you end up with is Philippe actually weakening Rena and bombing out. Like, what is happening there? Totally different. And then there's Philippe kind of getting picked up in a mid-latitude thing. There's some craziness going on with the models, right? No big threats to us, although this is around the 6th and the 7th, so not tomorrow, but a week from now, like a decent cold front. You see that blue across the eastern seaboard, and then, you know, so that would be rain for us. Kind of interesting. And then right in there, kind of interesting, not necessarily a significant thing, but there's definitely, toward the end of the GFS run here, there's definitely the signature of some sort of a lowering of pressure around Florida. You see that there, right? Now, I would also add that the BSR indicated that around the 15th or so, we would probably be tracking something tropically around us. So that's not a surprise, right? We'll see how that plays out. Now, that's the GFS. Let's switch over. Let's look at the European. We'll just we'll go back to the basin view. Philippe and Rena, and interesting. So this one literally Fujiwara's Rena around Philippe, but keeps Philippe as the stronger system. Weird. What a weird setup. There's that next Friday, Saturday front on the European. And that's as far as the European goes. We'll switch over to the control ensemble. Wow, what a weird hurricane season. And then toward the end, there's just not much. There's just not much there. So the European isn't going bonkers. But I do think that it's interesting if we look at the GFS, you know, toward the end of the run there's something of an area of low pressure around Florida. All right, let's look at the ensembles and just kind of see. There's some ensemble support, but not a ton for development toward the end on the GFS, the European. Same kind of thing. Actually, the European, interestingly enough, seemingly has more ensemble support for some sort of development around Florida, kind of, toward the end of the cycle there, so around the 14th, 15th. But we know, looking at the BSR, which I'll explain what that is in a moment, but we know, looking at the BSR, that there is some sort of ensemble support, or there is some sort of idea that something could be forming and be around Florida mid-October. So, for those of you that have no idea what the BSR is, the BSR is a technique that we use to look at long-range forecasting, particularly in the fall. All right, and there's several reasons for that. Okay, so it gives us a glance ahead. All right, a little bit of a future idea. And if you're new to Coffee Talk, that's one of the things that I love. That's one of the things that I love to do, is to utilize some non-traditional techniques to just give us ideas looking ahead. Because my job is a forecaster, so I'm going to use all the scientific methods that I have, understanding that forecasting the weather is not perfect science. Okay? Now, I issue my hurricane forecast March the 1st, which means I will be issuing a new hurricane forecast March the 1st. We are almost 6 months out from that forecast. We're also getting to my very busy season of tracking the weather. But anyway, all right, so what does the BSR show? You ready? Let's take a look together. All right, so the BSR is basically looking at data up around the Bering Sea. So there's a look at the imagery right now, okay? Let's do this together. Notice that it's still showing a deepening. It's continuing to show a pretty clear signal of an area of low pressure, more than likely around the Panhandle. But that image that you're looking at, if we were to extrapolate that out, that's the 15th / the 16th of October. That's the 15th and the 16th of October. So based on that, it kind of makes sense, even if it's just a little bit of sense, right? It makes even if it's just a little bit of sense, it makes sense that the GFS is kind of trying to hint at something around the 14th, 15th. Is the GFS perfect? Is the BSR perfect? No. But let's be watching mid-October for that next thing, okay? All right, we need some kind of tropical storm for one reason. How are we going to identify the blank part of the pattern if there's no storm to reference? Well, we look at other features, of course, Cindy. But yeah, tropical systems definitely make it easier. Yeah. Brian says, when racing, I travel by driving the hauler. The crew and drivers all fly, though I'm away from home longer. Typically have the better travel experience. Usually hassle for them between delays and canceling. Yeah, that's probably pretty true. Yeah. Let's see here. Lots of consistency on something around the 15th, 16th. Yeah, we're continuing to see that for sure. Yeah. Carlos down in Puerto Rico. Hopefully Felipe can stay away from the Caribbean. Goes north with Rena. At the very least, Carlos, rest easy knowing that we're not looking at anything terribly strong. Okay? That's the important thing. So even if you get a little bit of rain, you get a little bit of rain. Addie's asking, what does the BSR stand for? It stands for the Bering Sea Rule, because what we're looking at when we look at the imagery is, if you look at the top, you see the blue United States. If I take that off, that black on the top is actually the Bering Strait and the Bering Sea. This is just kind of a technique that we use, is we know that it's a bit of a teleconnection. So that's the 15th of October, so we'll be watching around there. Let's just extrapolate this beyond and see. Something else, like a little bit of a storm system around. Decent little storm system right in here. That's an interesting little thing. We'll have to watch that timeline there. Could bring some cooler weather to us. That's the 25th of October. And I know that we've been talking about a decent cool front around the 25th of October. So to me, it's just a matter of the model trying to figure it out. But it'd be interesting to see. Could the week of Halloween give us a taste of cooler air? I wouldn't mind that. Wouldn't mind that at all. Yeah. All right. Continuing on. Right there. Interesting. That's a new feature being picked up that I had not seen yet. A little something coming from the Gulf. That's around the 27th of October. So for those of you following along and tracking, we've got an indication of some sort of a storm system around October 15th and some sort of an indication of a storm system around October 27th. Let's look and see. Let me go one model run back and see if this is new. Yeah, it's kind of new. Although it's still showing it just a little bit of a different date. Let's go 2 days. I mean, that's 2 model runs back, 3 model runs back. So it's not terribly consistent. It's just trying to figure something out. It's sniffing something out. But the current run is interesting. So around the 27th, the current run of the GFS is kind of interesting for that. And then that'll be something interesting to see. You see that around Texas. Don't read too much into it other than that may be something interesting down the line. And that's around Halloween. So BSR giving us some subtle clues. Don't read too into that last one coming in around Texas, because that atmospherically doesn't make sense. And it's just, we'll have to watch and see how this all plays out. All right. But for now, the 15th and what did I say? The 27th. We'll watch those. All right. There's also indications of cool fronts in October. So that's not too bad. Not at all. All right. Any other questions about long range stuff? Anything at all? Anything at all? You had me at cooler weather, Jeannie says. Oh my God, right? Good gravy. I'll take cooler weather any day of the week. Any other questions, comments, concerns? So temp-wise, what are temps looking like around Halloween? It's a little early for that. Let's let this play out first. Let's keep watching trends, but a little too early to get that in depth. You know, I'll do my best. We're getting closer, but it's a little early. Great idea to use the GFS for the Bering Sea to extend the teleconnections forecast. Do you like that, Chris? I don't know who gave me that idea. Was it you? Did I come up with that? I can't even remember. I don't want swamp butt. We live in the swamp. Flights into Orlando tomorrow, 8:57 p.m. There's going to be some storms around, so there's a chance that it gets a little delayed. Yeah. Mike, going on business trip on Halloween to Orlando. Love it there, but rather be home. All right. Brian's asking, do the pressures shown on the BSR coincide with pressures to be expected here? No, you have to look at it strictly as an idea. It's showing highs and lows. Don't connect anything more. All right. Lisa, I have a question. If there's a tornado warning for my actual area, is there a warning that your program issues that would be loud on my phone? Our WESH 2 mobile app has push alerts. I tweet them out, so we do our best. Yeah, hopefully that kind of helps a little bit. But that's we do our due diligence, I'll say. All right, enough of that. All right. I will see you at 3:30 today. I'm going to mow. I've got a billion elements of laundry to do. Oh my God, it's going to be a busy day. Be the sunshine in someone else's day. I'll be back at 3:30 to talk more with you. Sound good? All right. Be good.